Morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday Live. You are with myself, Dave Savage, CEO of Mortgage Coach. We also have Scott Nicholson coming live. Where are you at, Scott?
I'm in Orange County, Yorba Linda.
Orange County, Yorba Linda, and we've got Michelle Castle north of Dallas. What's up, Michelle?
Just all kind of goodness.
Good. Well, I'm coming to you from a foreign location, at least for me. I'm in Syracuse, New York. It was parents' weekend this weekend, and my wife wanted to make it a couple extra days. So I'm working out of Syracuse and loving every minute of it. So today we're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff. We're going to unpack a few takeaways from the Modern Mortgage Summit. I watched the whole thing because I helped co-host that with Todd Bookspan and Renee Rodriguez, and I've actually kind of watched it a couple times. I've watched it to help put the show together, and then literally it was just, God, it was such a gift being in a room and having to not only watch the whole event, but watch it because we had to do hey, what's the takeaway? And then we had to tee up the next one. So it really required another level of listening and so much gold. Todd and I are going to do a formal unpacking of that in coming weeks because there were so many takeaways that we just think are essential to anyone that says, hey, I'm a modern originator, or I want to be a modern originator. We think all of the lessons, all of the tactics were within that event. And so stay tuned on that. Although the Shayla Gifford pre-approval keynote, I think is super on point with today's conversation. Today's conversation is around what does it mean to be hyper-local and hyper-personal in today's mortgage experience? And I think Shayla said a lot of things that align with that. So did Josh Metal. So did Dan Keller. God, I could say everyone's name, but I do think those three people, their particular keynotes really applied to the consumer experience. And they also applied to what we're trying to do here at Mortgage Coach. And that is to elevate loan officers to be the most valuable advisors in America. We want the loan officer to be more valuable than a CPA, more valuable than a financial planner, more valuable to a realtor when it comes to a family building wealth and achieving financial freedom. We think loan officers are important, and we want them to be the single most important advisor. So Scott, before we bring you on, I know Michelle's going to kind of come in and come out, but Michelle, you watched quite a bit of the Modern Mortgage Summit. What were some of the highlights from what you did watch?
Whenever I think back to all of the different presentations, I think the one message that I continued to hear or felt over and over is that it's really about knowing who you are, what value you add in creating a process and a system that you do consistently. I mean, if you listen to every one of coaches, the mortgage coaches at the summit, every one of them, it was a process and a system that they did consistently because they knew who they were and what value they had to add to every relationship, whether that relationship be a business partner or the community or the consumer. It doesn't matter. It's just knowing who you are and what value you had to add.
Yeah, and to me, the other consistent thing is they were adding value beyond the transaction. It's table stakes as a loan officer to add value with great rates and knowing your rates and your fees. It's table stakes to keep your promises and close loans on time. It's table stakes to be a great problem solver and transactional coordinator. But every person that was on that stage was talking about, hey, how am I providing financial literacy training using social media? How am I making sure that whether it's a simple refi or a simple purchase, that family member is walking away with some financial expertise that goes beyond the mortgage transaction? Common theme. Scott, what were some things? I think you watched a number of presentations, but in prepping, you mentioned Shayla's. What were some takeaways you had?
Yeah, her stand above and really struck a chord with me. I love that one because that's something I'm really focusing on my personal business. So that really struck a chord, and I think it's missed a lot too, to be honest with you. And I think the market is really demanding of it right now because of competition. So I think if you take that and some things that we're going to do today, and I think that one, just personal production wise, I'm taking ownership of, and then I'll show some things today because the market just demands it. right now. And you need it as an originator, especially as you move forward in this tough market. As rates start to drift, all the easy little gatherers that we've been for 2 years, we got to be those hunters now. And you really got to pivot on your business.
So let's start unpacking hyper local, hyper personal experience. So why don't you go first, Scott? Like, what does that mean to you? Let's define that for everyone. And if there is anything you want to show on your desktop while you're doing it, feel free. And Michelle and I will paint some color around whatever you share, and then we'll have you come back with the same question to you, Michelle, in a few minutes. And then remember, mortgage coach community, if you guys have questions, if you want to share something, you can use chat, whether you're in Zoom or whether you're on Facebook. What are we looking at, Scott?
You're looking at actually my website, actually. And one of the things I've done is I've taken all my mortgage coach, 2,000 plus TCAs, and I really wanted to go and make me that, like you're saying, the hyper local, that digital person of my area, or of where I'm doing business in my states. And so one of the things that we're going to dive into is really making me that hyperlocal person, but I'm going to show you how to take kind of the old fashioned way we used to do business, right? And integrate a bunch of different things. So I think 3 things that for me on the pre-approval. One, I need to stand out. So if Michelle Castle is my competition, we're both writing offers in there. How do I stand out against Michelle? She's fierce. She's very good. And that's where it's going to go. We're all going to be competing against very good loan officers. 1, how do I stand out against Michelle? 2, how do I build trust in my offer quickly with not only the consumer, but the listing agent? And then lastly, how do I provide clarity, right? So I can give confidence and clarity to the seller and listing agent to get my offer accepted over Michelle's. And that's the goal, right? And so with that, I'll show you, I'll show you one I could show you kind of, we'll call it legally. So there's no personal information. This is how I work in today's market. And so I actually send my offers this way. So I'll upload my PDF. There is my offer. So there's one, I'm going to stand out this way against Michelle. And I won't use Michelle because we're guests here. So let's say the average LO, right?
Don't worry about it. I don't think Michelle takes any offense to you.
No, I don't take any offense at all. Yeah, use me.
Let's you and Michelle compete.
Obviously, Michelle, so this is how I'm going to stand out. So number 1, I'm going to be delivering this presentation, this link to the listing agent, right? Here's the data we have. Here's our pre-approval. Here's a little 1-minute video I did.
Hi, Scott Nicholson, Mortgage Possible. So thanks for opening up this presentation. What this is our offer.
And I'll spare the details. What I'm saying in this video, it's speaking to the listing agent directly about how well pre-approved my client is, fully underwritten, I have everything but title, escrow, and appraisal. So, but Michelle and I do have that, and that's great. So we both have clients that have been fully underwritten, but now I'm going to go to the next level, and I'm going to get Michelle here. I'm going to provide trust. And so what I mean by that is, look what I incorporated. I incorporated my appraisal contingency plan or appraisal gap strategy. What I referred to down below is if things get into trouble, I have solutions to get us out. In particular, I highlighted this TCA on how if value doesn't come in, here's how I we fix the problems to stay into escrow and to close without increasing ratios will knock them out or increasing cash to close to knock our clients out. So think of what I did here. I sent a unique presentation. Let me just shut my TCA here. So now I'm delivering this whole package to the listing agent. Here's my data. Here's my custom video. So what have I done? Have I stood out against Michelle? Yes. Have I built trust quickly and efficiently with the listing agent and seller? Yes. Have I provided clarity on what we're doing in the transaction And I'm also giving problem solving techniques in here in my pre-approval. This is just the pre-approval. And think about, I'll give you kind of behind the scenes. I'll give you one we did last night. And if you turn your heads for 2 seconds. Uh-oh. Is that me?
Can you hear, Scott?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't hear Dave.
That noise. Let's do.
Hey, how about this? Can you hear me now?
Gotcha.
Okay, not sure what happened there. So guys, I want everyone who's listening to this to think about how you're delivering. Scott, don't show your screen right now.
Oh, sorry.
So I want you to think about how you're delivering a pre-approval, and I want you to imagine the email that you're sending to the agent. And I'll be willing to bet a lot of them, maybe most of them, have a PDF attached or some type of a document that has the word. And I'll be willing to bet that there are some links. You know, if you're a mortgage coach, there's a link to a total cost analysis. You know, there might be a BombBomb video link. You know, there's links. And my willing to bet is on every email that you're sending out, there's at least one attachment and multiple links. And so, you know, part of being hyper local and hyper personal is that it's easy for the consumer to consume the content. And so, you know, one of the things I like about what Scott's doing is it's one link, and that link has a PDF, it has a video, it has a TCA, and it has other things, and you can curate it and you can give it a headline, and you can even have a thumbnail marketing image so that if it's, you know, a pre-approval is not necessarily going to be shared on social media, although you might have a marketing version of your pre-approval with, hey, agents, look at how I'm helping you win bidding wars. And you really brag about, you know, this modern experience. And then hyper personal, hyper local. If you are not putting appreciation rates that are relevant locally and from a consumer, if you're not putting that in the proposal or in the pre-approval, you're not being as hyper local and hyper personal as you can be. So write that down. Every pre-approval needs to have appreciation rates built into it. And then the other thing, if you want to be hyper personal and you want to go beyond the transaction, it needs to have more than, you know, rates, fees, and cash to close. It's got to show, oh, how is that going to perform over time? That's getting hyper personal, and appreciation rates are getting hyper local. So Scott, before you go on, Michelle, anything you want to unpack on that or any takeaways that you have?
So Scott, when you're doing that, are you personalizing every video, or do you have stock videos that you're reusing for the appraisal gap and some of those building trust videos?
Great question. So I actually use that, and I just posted in the group, the Facebook, so that people can look at that. That's a consumer friendly looking at one. They can view it. So it depends on the where I'm at in the transaction. Meaning, I deliver these in the initial pre-qual, and so think of what I'm doing is, yeah, anyone can get pre-qual, but what I'm adding the extra layer on top of, hey guys, this is how we're going to get our offers accepted. And I'll show the generic version. I'll actually show the one I just posted in the group. And this is how, one, we stand out from the other offers, two, provide clarity in what we're doing, right? And confidence. That's what they want. Those listing agents want to know, is this Scott a knucklehead, or does he know what he's doing? And like, look what he's done. He's checked all the boxes for us. This is going to be easy. I can download his pre-approval. I can add my bank statements in there. I can add the consumer-friendly credit report. And Scott's done with his client. So I start with initial pre-approval. So the answer is generic. And then I'll show my screen and I'll kind of hide the client. But last night We got brought into a transaction, wrote the offer. I quickly updated the pre-approval, uploaded it into the presentation. I actually went to their TCA, re-recorded it. I said, column 1, and I'll show it to you here in a second. Column 1, this was our offer. This is how we're structuring our financing to buy your property. I'm speaking to the listing agent here. Column 2, here's if hypothetical value doesn't hit, and I used the number of 63,000 because we're putting 20 down. I backed it to 85 LTV. If value doesn't hit, we have a plan for this column, and that's column 3. And I showed them my appraisal gap strategy. And so I sent all of that over to the listing agent. I emailed it to her, I called her, and I texted it to her. And so she got all forms of communication from me.
And that's magic. And I love what you said. That's, confidence and clarity equals confidence has been a buzzword for me for the last couple of weeks. But what you're saying and what our clients need to feel and what our realtor partners need to feel is that same confidence and clarity. So you went above and beyond and demonstrated that clarity so that the listing agent can then go present that offer with confidence and clarity to the seller that, hey, we go with this option and I'm confident that we're going to find solutions to any kind of challenges that we come up with because we've already addressed one of the major ones that is a fear.
That's exactly right.
Golden. Good job, Scott. That is one way to really show up and stand up in these times of the times that are about to get tough for us all.
So a couple comments came in on both Zoom. Colleen said, Scott, where did you post the examples you're referring to? Did you post that?
Facebook group. We're on the Facebook Live.
Okay, so go, Colleen, you're watching right now from Zoom after this call, or if you want to multitask, go to our Mortgage Coach Facebook group, and within the live of this, in comments, you'll see it. And for everybody on Zoom, hey, it's great to have you here, but we post everything in the Facebook group, and it's available even after the event. And then someone said, are you getting your pre-approvals fully underwritten and approved?
Yes.
Both of you could answer that question.
Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
I do not, unless it's something I'm not 100% sure about. But we are so thorough up front that we just don't miss.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Scott.
But that is, but let me preface that also, Dave, by saying that based on our current capacity, we were talking about sending those into underwriting. It had been a capacity issue, and I'm sure there's a lot of conversation around that. Unless you've got the ops staff to handle underwriting every one of your pre-approvals, you just have to be really dialed in good and know what you're doing on the front end. Because for a long time, our underwriters could not handle those files for pre-approvals. Now that the capacity is not as much of a challenge, we'll send more of those in to shorten the amount of time that we need to close, which is also helpful in that competitive situation.
Nice. Scott, how would you answer that?
Yeah, she's right. 100% right. So, I mean, 95% of the clients all submit as what we call true approval. So full underwritten, approved. All I'm really missing is title, escrow, and appraisal. But those 5%ers, to be honest, the one last night was not, because it was a W-2 Chapman University professor, super easy loan, plenty of seasoned money. Credit was perfect, really no debt. I mean, anyone could approve that loan. It's pretty easy. But normally I don't, but that one went through.
Got it.
Super easy.
Got it. So first of all, guys, this is great. Someone else just asked in Facebook, how do you make these presentations with all the content in one spot? And how long does it take to put one of these together? That was Kurt. And Kurt, thanks for being active. Folks, keep asking questions down below. What's the answer to that, Scott?
Let's just show him. Let's show Kurt right now. So let's go in there and let's do it. So I'm actually in my dashboard right now. Let's just pull it up. I've jumped into presentations. This is the one right here. Let's go ahead. I'm going to click duplicate. Let's say I have another one to send out. So I'm going to duplicate the file. Let's just, whatever, call it the Smith file, right? Let's grab their pre-approval letter. Let's just make sure I got the right stuff on there.
This is for that particular, you are in a client's file right now?
I just made a copy of it, right?
Okay.
This is a more of a generic one. So what I'll do is I'll retitle it. I'll pull in the pre-approval letter. Actually, I just dropped a CMA, but just imagine, just use your imagination for right now on the PDF. I'll leave everything the way it is. This YouTube video is a generic one of me. The appraisal is a generic one of me. The YouTube of the bank is a generic one of me. There's my thumbnail. I'm going to publish, and my next pre-approval just went out. There it is. So let's open it.
So it's pretty quick and easy.
Yeah.
By the end of this call, we'll put a link. Whenever Scott has a minute, he's not talking, he'll put a link for anyone that wants to sign up for Lender Launchpad.
Scott, I have a question for you. So if you, when that's received in someone's email box, I think I heard you say it's just a one click instead of multiple attachments and links. Is that correct?
That's correct. So if I were to take this link, right, I were to grab it. And so this whole, what you're looking at is what's being delivered, right? So let's actually look at this. So two things for you, Michelle, is what are they getting, right? One, we just showed you how easy it is to make. And two, what are they getting with this modern pre-approval? Number one, they're getting a multi-page PDF. So I've sent, some people recently have sent me some of how they pre-approve it, which I like, but it's very fragmented. There were attachments, there's multiple attachments to the email, there was multiple links embedded through the email. So it was kind of clunky, so to speak, and there was no flow, there was no organization. So when this is what the listing agent sees right here. So one, they're going to get the assets here in the PDF. They can download it right here. They simply click the download button. There it is right there. They're going to get my reviews that are automatically pulled in with a via API. They're going to get a default or YouTube video I recorded. I don't make specific mention of the client or the property or our listing agent, so I can mass produce. But if I need to customize, I'll take a minute out and flip out the video if need be. In particular, and I'll show you one that went out last night. I recorded that custom TCA that I spoke about, and I'll show that to you. I can then, so think of what I'm doing when I'm building it. I have the ability to load custom videos in here. I'll load the custom YouTube, but because it's generic, I just copied the file, renamed the file, updated the pre-approval PDF, and out the door I go. I did it in 10 seconds. And then they're going to get this whole thing, but look what else they get. When my listing agent opens it, remember, I'm trying to build the trust. Remember, the second word was trust. And when she looks, or he or she looks at this like, good Lord, look what this guy's doing. Look at all the other strategies and problems he's solving with his clients and other. She can look through my entire that I've tagged affordability, conventional loans, inventory, and move up, right? So he or she can look at other content that I produce. This is a library. So I'm going to show you exactly. Now you say, well, Scott, how do I customize something? Well, I'll show you the actual one. It's this one. So if you close your eyes for 1 second, and so I can hide their names. Close your eyes. You know what I'll do? I'll go to page 2. There you go. So there you go. So this is the one that went out last night. All I did here is record a custom TCA. I was speaking to the listing agent.
Hi, I'm Scott Nicholson. I want to introduce myself.
So there's my introduction, right? And then there's row 1, there's our offer, right? Row 2, here's if we miss the appraisal. Here's what your traditional lender's going to do probably for that client in escrow. Look at their increase of cash to close. That's not going to happen here. And here's how we solve that. We did it right here. And so all I did was, and everyone should do this. And let me pause for a second. This is a really important part. and we're going to do kind of a survey. How important, because the rest of this show or our meeting here, I'm going to incorporate the appraisal contingency or appraisal gap strategy in multiple scenarios moving forward. So raise your hand if you're an LO that implements the appraisal gap strategy, right? I know you do, Michelle. So let's keep our hands raised. Keep raising your hand if you've implemented it in the pre-approval process, right? Good, Michelle. Keep your hand risen if you do it in the offer that you're submitting to your listing agents. Good. Wait, your hand went down. Your hand. Okay, this is for everybody. Keep your hand risen if you incorporate the appraisal gap strategy in the CMA reports you're doing for your agents going on their new listing appointments.
Got me.
Yeah. So we're going to show you. So watch. So think if you're a mortgage coach user right now, and if you just learned the appraisal gap strategy and how many different ways you can use it in the initial pre-qual. You write it, you put it in the initial, you put it in your offer. And not only that, you're going to put it in, and I'll show you the modern CMA report towards the end. You're going to use that as a problem-solving skill set that you have to get the next listing for your listing agent. So it's really critical that you guys all understand that and you use it in all the different fashions you can. And I'll show you how we do that. So questions on any of this stuff so far? So how do you modernize your pre-approval? Simple. You need to stand out. You need to build trust. You need to provide clarity. And this is how you're going to do it. So think if you're doing it the old fashioned way, you're slinging over those PDFs like, here you go. You're not really doing yourself a service as far as getting your offers accepted. And you're really doing a huge disservice to your client that's depending on you to help them get their offers accepted. So let's think of ways how you can use this current strategy. And I use this all the time. I use this all the time when I go meet with buyer agents that I like to work with. I'll sit down with them and say, hey, let's meet. I'm going to show you the modern, I'll show you my pre-approval, right? And how we're going to get more offers accepted this way. So I create what? Stickiness with the consumer and the buyer agents now. I'm going to get more of those referrals back to me. Hey, Scott, pre-approve my client. Let's go. And then, so that's number one. Now let's pivot and I'll show you more of the modern experience. Again, let's do the annual mortgage review. So what do you think of the annual remortgage review and how modernized that is? Experience, right? So I'll show you something another way we've modernized. Let's see, sorry there. Okay, so what you're looking at is, this is an actual one. I actually took their personal information out and all that. This is a CD. This was the final CD, and this was sent to the client. So they have all this for what? It's the 1 year, and it's going to be tax season. So they can come here and download it, right? They have that ready for their CPA. And here's a default message I recorded.
Hi all, Scott Nicholson. Hey, wanted to read.
So I can mass produce these. Remember, duplicate, new CD, and then all I do in here is I put a new TCA. Here is the TCA that went to JoJo.
Hi, JoJo.
So this is where they were a year ago. This was our last refi. Here's in what we're focusing on, what this client's need is a year later. The market's appreciating so fast. I followed up with a client and said, JoJo, shoot, now's our time. Last time, a year ago, your properties were 705. Now we're in probably that 850 range now. And what they wanted to do was a remodel. And I showed them cash out refi options in the annual mortgage review. So let's look at how that was built and how that was delivered. So I'm sending this link. When they open the link, usually I text it. I like to text people, and they'll see the thumbnail, they'll click on it, and they get all their data and information here. They have the CD they can download. They have the custom little video, but in particular, and I reference the TCA below here, here's our new options moving forward. Now let's get ready for that cash out refi. And so that's how we're delivering kind of the modern CMA experience in today's market.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was
I'm
just
just-
gonna
I'm
say I
just-
love it, and I did want to acknowledge we're at the halfway point, guys. And I do want to have Michelle get a chance to share some of her hyper local, hyper personal strategies. But go ahead and ask your question, Michelle.
So Scott, are you using, I mean, the bells went off in several different, whenever you were talking. Number one, how I could be using, and I started and I didn't finish because I didn't create a process and a system that I would execute consistently. For that reason, it was a one and done. It should not have been, but TCAs for listings. So whenever your favorite agent or a target agent is just had a house that they put out there on the market, creating those TCAs and then texting them a link, beautiful listing, super excited, congratulations. I created this for you for anyone that's interested. And I started doing that in something you said, Scott, just kind of triggered that again, the importance of providing that information to those seller's agent as a value add. But the other thing I was just thinking is one on my list, and I'm a fully transparent person. So if I'm messing up or not doing something, I'm gonna just tell you, hey, I failed in this area, but I learned, and this is what I learned. But the annual reviews, I have not done a good job with annual reviews. It's embarrassing to say. I am very passionate about financial literacy. I have a lot of information I could share and people could grow and learn. So I feel like I have really let my people down by not doing that thus far in my career. But I was just thinking, creating TCAs for my annual reviews and then doing the reach out or getting the hook or the excitement over a TCA and annual reviews. I mean, like putting the average appreciation.
Yep.
I have HomeBot. I have all of that information available to me. So putting together a TCA for annual reviews with HomeBot information, I'm going to have to create a strategy for that and a process and a system and execute, because that's huge.
Well, especially if it's a purchase transaction, right? Especially if they bought this year, right? That has to go out. They need that CD because they're going to reach out to you in January, February, like, hey, can you guys send me that CD for my? So just beat them to the punch. End of the year prospecting right now. Let's go fishing again. Show the market appreciation. Here's the CD to get ready for your tax season. Oh, and by the way, and to remember that presentation I was showing you, all the other content library that's below that, right? They can realize like, oh shoot, I didn't realize you did rental loans, Scott. Let's talk about that. And so
it's like having them land onto a landing page that you specifically put all of the information on a billboard for them to see all in one spot. Love it.
That's exactly.
And be thoughtful about your headlines, guys. When it's a pre-approval, you're probably going to want to put things like the appraisal insurance gap. Yep. That's going to be a very on point thing for a buyer, a rent versus own, MI analysis. But when you're doing the annual review, you're going to want to put things like reno loans, cash out, debt consol, buying your second home, how to use equity in your current home to buy your second home, investment property analysis.
Yeah, I think at that point you got to really, it's the emotional intelligence and knowing where your people are at that moment, what they need to hear from you and using those words.
Yeah, I love it. So someone had asked if you can use a Loom video instead of YouTube, and the answer is yes. Yep. And I've been really impressed with how Scott and Justin, his co-founder, have evolved the platform. So, right now they've got, all the most common platforms that you can put in here, and whenever something becomes commonly requested, you can assure that it will be in here. So check it out. So Scott, we'll keep coming back and forth with you. Why don't you share a link for anyone that wants to sign up for Lender Launchpad? Put a link in both Zoom and Facebook. And let's turn the spotlight on Michelle for a little bit, and Scott and I will interview you, Michelle. Think back, because did you watch Shayla's pre-approval experience?
Yes, I did.
On the keynote?
Yes.
Kind of pull from that, because a lot of the folks that watch this call and are listening to this, they went through the Modern Mortgage Summit. What does it mean to you to be hyper local, hyper personalized mortgage professional?
For me, being local means paying attention and knowing what's going on. It's really important to, every one of our markets are so drastically different. For instance, people are moving to Texas in buses. But what are they moving here for? Is it the lifestyle? Is it the affordability? Is it the political views? I mean, what is the reason that they're moving here? Is for a long, long time, it was our older folks moving here to be closer to their kids and grandkids, or coming back home because it was affordable and their retirement check went a lot further. So I think being local just means knowing and understanding your market. What does it have to give? What are people looking for? And then speaking specifically to that. So having that, I think, again, emotional intelligence. Shayla's presentation, when I was listening to Shayla's presentation, I just love Shayla. She is my soul sister. A lot of the success that I've experienced in the business is because Shayla has been coaching me for 7 years. And so one of the things that I love about Shayla is that she is very, she knows what's going on and she keeps it simple. For instance, your pre-approval meetings, I tend to show up for realtor presentations, show up for my presentations with the customers with an assumption. And that was the one thing that she talked about. You can't assume where they are. You got to meet them where they are. You got to ask enough questions. You got to be curious. But what I loved about her presentation is add value, save time, cut down stress, and make the realtors more money. That's the purpose of, whenever we're in front of those realtors, that's what they need from us. We overcomplicate the heck out of it by showing them all of the bells and whistles and talk about all these loan programs. But at the end of the day, they just need to know that we know that stuff. They don't need to know all of the details. They just need to know that we're going to save them time, cut down their stress, and we're going to make them more money. And we do that through a scripted pre-approval process that helps answer all their questions, solve their problems, listens so that we know what it is that we need to deliver for them, and then make it make sense with the numbers.
So let's walk through yours. And I know it may seem redundant to you because you're like, oh, I'm just doing what Shayla does. Her and I do the same thing. But first of all, not everybody on this call did watch that presentation or have access to it. And then I always think that something comes out in the translation, and it will give, and then I think we can also connect what you're doing to some of the takeaways from Scott. So just give us like 5 minutes on what is your perfect pre-approval process. And wherever mortgage coach fits in, call that out. If you think there's a place where Lender Launchpad might fit in the future, call that out. And then if there's other tools, like I know you did a presentation on HomeBot, which will be in the 365-day pass, everybody. While Michelle had a couple of presentations that played live, that one will be in the 1-year pass. So just call out the platforms that you use and describe it to everyone if you don't mind.
So even before COVID, so much of our business was done by computer and phone, not in person. And a lot of my team's finally comfortable with the camera. Now, when I say team, in again, transparency, my team takes care of my clients. I take care of my business partners. And that's how we've divided our roles. So once we have an application and full documentation, I personally don't issue pre-qualification letters. I go straight to pre-approval. And the reason that I do that is because I have found that if I give customers what they're looking for, which is a pre-approval, pre-qualification letter, they will go house hunting on a pre-qualification letter. And I don't know for sure that the deal's going to work. Makes me nervous because when I sign a letter, I want my letter to mean that this letter is as good as going to the bank and cashing a check. So we go straight to pre-approval, which means we are very persistent with getting the paperwork that we need for a full pre-approval. In my small community, again, this means knowing your local market. In my community, we don't get a lot of work numbers or account checks because I'm in a smaller town and our employers are more of the mom and pops. So it does take a little more paperwork. We get the paperwork so that we can fully pre-approve a customer. Now for us, it's really important, again, just like Shayla was talking about, knowing what their dreams and their goals and their wants and their needs and their desires requires a lot of curiosity and asking a lot of questions. So for us, it is really important, and I'm very specific in how I'm referred by my realtor partner. I want to be referred a very specific way, and I need to know what the customer story is so I can continue that conversation with the client so they feel like the realtor heard them and has passed on that information to me so we can continue to give them what they want, need, and desire in that purchase transaction. Now at that time, they're thinking, what is my rate? What are my payments? How much money am I going to need? The typical questions. And those are all good questions, but I want to answer way more than just those basic questions, which means taking the time to thoroughly pre-approve them and then give them a total cost analysis, expanding their mind on what could be outside of just the payments, interest rate, and money out of pocket. So a TCA is a non-negotiable. It is that is our goal in the pre-approval process. My pre-approval process is not just to give them a letter, it's to expand their mind on what could be if they were to think about finances in a different way. And going over that and get them excited, not just about the house, but excited about the fact that I just empowered them to make a smart decision that gives them safety and security for their family in the purchase of a home. Does that make sense? So the TCAs, I mean, to me, a TCA is the goal of the pre-approval process, because that's where I get to show that we listened to what they said, and I get to expand their mind, teaching them something they didn't expect to learn. And then that's also a value add in our relationship, because I know the loan officer down the street doesn't even understand a TCA. So and we have to deliver that in short, concise conversations, because people are not taking the time to sit down and listen. So it's asking the right questions early and often to get very curious to find out what it is that they are most concerned about, scared about, and excited about, so I can put the numbers together to match those emotions.
Love everything you said. If Michelle is missing anything that someone on this call right now is already doing, you're like, hey, what about this? Put that in chat. Let's have a conversation around it. And as I was hearing Michelle describe it, and I was reflecting on what I heard Shayla do, is a full pre-approval experience is full of a bunch of little micro lessons. Write this down, micro lessons. So the Mortgage Coach TCA is a micro lesson. It's the numbers. The pre-approval document, it's a micro lesson. It's what do you qualify for, and the terms of your loan. If you're doing some type of a video, it's a micro lesson. And so when I think of, and by the way, sometimes you want to forward just a micro lesson via text, via email, and it's one micro lesson to educate that client. And sometimes you want to send them all. And here's my message: sending them all in an email with a bunch of PDFs and in a link, that's not the modern or the most efficient way now. Like doing that with a lender launchpad link. And I personally, because I'm just addicted to the term playbooks, so I'd probably call it the Smith family, purchase playbook, and that's like, hey, this is your full playbook. And here's the numbers, Smith family numbers. Here's your, pre-approval document, but it's all part of this playbook. Again, that's my word. I'm not here to advocate to anyone else to use that word because that's just a word that I use a lot and I like, and it means something to me. Come up with your own words that drive your experience. But what I do hope you guys all get from this is there's these little micro lessons, there's this bigger experience, and there's a better way to deliver it to a family if you're local. And I do think we are at a point where you all have to update what you've done for the past 20, 30 years as an industry. Isn't going to make you the most valuable advisor to families. Now, again, if you're just playing the loan officer game, that's fine. But if you want to be, I'm the most valuable local advisor to a family game, then you gotta elevate with content. So we're in the last 15 minutes. Scott, anything you want to ask Michelle or anything you want to add on to what Michelle has said so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one word that just immediately popped out, what Michelle said, is reputation. Small town, when I put something out, it means something. So it's really important, especially being online and digital, right? It's your reputation. Smaller, even though you're in a small town, we live
It echoes.
reputation. Oh my gosh. So reputation just clearly just jumped off the page with you. Number two, listen, right? Listen, because most LOs don't listen, right? They go, oh, I know this one's pretty easy. Just boom, out the door it goes. So listening for opportunities as an originator to really separate. And I'll give you a 2-second story. Oh, and stay into the put. Listen, then delivering those solutions on that TCA are critical, right? So here's your 2-second story. Agent referral the other day, refused to basically take them shopping because they've been pre-approved with a company that starts with an R and the other one starts with a big old letter B, right? Big online companies, right? But just, there's no trust, there's no relationship. Took the interview. I got my work. I'm just doing it for my agent. So long story short, I listened. The one thing I took away is like, okay, we got great income, great credit, got a lot of debt, got a big gift coming in from parents. And in the last column of the TCA, I spun it on them and they wanted to go boom, boom, boom. And I said, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're only going to put 90 LTV, 10% down. And why? Because I'm going to take that 50,000, I'm going to wipe out all that bad debt. So now we have, instead of putting 50%, 20% down, let's put 10 and wipe that out. They saw that. I texted her the presentation, right? My Lender Launchpad presentation for them. She goes, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. Immediately went to application, took it because we listened, right? And we delivered something different, in that TCA experience, and off it went.
Scott, I just love that. Can you imagine the feeling that you would have? And I'm a feeler. So I'm always thinking, how did what I just say or do make someone feel?
Yep.
But can you imagine you're thinking about buying a house, you're overwhelmed with the financial obligation and you've just got, and every day you go to the mailbox and there's bills in the mail. When you open your emails, there's bills sitting there. I love having that conversation of, hey, Lynn, let's just put less down. Let's just look and see what it looks like. I know I don't want to pay mortgage insurance, but what if?
Yep.
What if we could streamline and get rid of that icky feeling you get whenever you open the mail and it's not a thank you card, it's not a Christmas card, it's bills.
Yep. That's a huge deal. And you know what the problem I thought we were going to have is dad giving this big old gift, not realizing they're putting all this money down. So he saw my presentation, he reached out to me, he goes, awesome job. So let's make sure we get that taken care of. And then on the side, we'll take care of the debt and let's go forward.
Well, I think about Todd Duncan. Todd Duncan's presentation was just really hit for me, again, because I'm just so into the emotions. And when you're talking about the 5 emotions of people that are, we have the opportunity to connect with people in an emotional way. And that is one way to do it, is to help them feel just that feeling of safety and security of I can buy a home and get out of debt all at the same time. That's an emotional connection, which is so important if we're building relationships.
And
which is what we all want to do.
those
And,
key.
guys, that it fits under the big strategy of do what Amazon and Zillow can't do, never will do, emotionally connect your local.
Mhm.
Who cares most? And by the way, how do you show that you care? You show that you care by going beyond the transaction, really
Mhm.
caring about that next move for the family,
Mhm.
and really care about them understanding their options in detail. So we've had a lot of really nice feedback. Kevin Newton said fire. So Kevin, I'll take it for that was awesome. A lot of really nice things. Elizabeth Rose loved my little terminology with playbook. So thank you, Elizabeth. Michelle asked a question, Scott, can you tell me why you put credit score on the letter you send? And if it's a lower score, do you still add that?
Yeah, I mean, most of, well, let's be real. If it's super low, I'll kind of like not put it in there. Because consumers and agents are, oh my gosh, 719, that's a deal killer. It's an event, 5 years ago, and they're still, thinking that's going to
So if
hit.
it's over 740, you're putting it in there because it's a value, but if it's taking value from the
Yeah.
offer, you're not putting it.
So my rule of thumb, Michelle, is if it's high, I'm going to show it off. If it's low, I'm going to put it back to the side. If they want it, then great, I'll deliver it.
Okay, cool on that. And Michelle, I think, the reason for putting it is to speak specifics. They qualify, their credit's great. See, that I think is, why Scott's doing that. Remember, Jamie said, I would love to hear your videos. So Jamie, become a member of Lender Launchpad. Scott has an incredible Facebook group where they do training every single week. And there's a lot of those videos in that Facebook group. I'm sure if you reach out to him personally, he'll share some of that, but we don't have time for that in this call. Sorry about that. And then this call has another 8 minutes left, guys. I'm going to have to leave in 3 because I've got to jump in another one. So Michelle, can I delegate to you to be me and close out this call at the top of the hour?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Love to.
So let me see if there's any more questions from the community. So I want to ask you guys each a question, and I'm going to, probably leave while one of you is answering it. But what is the biggest mistake that you see most loan officers making? Let's just say they're good transactional loan officers, but they're just not delivering this next gen experience. Scott, why don't you go first? What's the biggest mistake you're seeing in the marketplace right now?
Yeah, I think, let's go back to the weekend. I actually saw a post come across, and it was, hey, I'm sending my TCAs out which is great, to my agents, right? Which is good, but they're not framing it right. They're not like, hey, that's cool, Scott, I appreciate you doing that. That provides the clarity, but what are you doing for me, the agent, right? And I think people really miss that point on, if you're going to send the TCA, well, how is it going to help either your buyer's agent and or your listing agent? And then I chimed in and said, all right, if you want help, I'll show you how I'm doing it. And so on Saturday's post, I showed them several different ways to help both the listing agent and the buyer's agent. So I think they have to think deeper than just flinging out a TCA and like, check that bad boy out, give me business. No, it doesn't really work that way.
Well, since I got to go in 2 minutes, I'm going to put my 2 cents on that, because I think that's one of the single biggest mistakes I see salespeople make personally, is they love to tell what they do, and they love to say why they're better, and they don't frame it around customers' needs and wants, and how you're going to frame a total cost analysis or anything to a first-time home buyer is going to be different than how you do it with a move-up buyer, and how you would do it with a realtor is going to be totally different. And so putting a frame around, whatever story you have, whether it's mortgage coach, whether it's home bot, whether it's just some story, it's not from a platform, but it's a real life story. The frame is actually more important than the story itself. So really good point. And anybody who's been through Renee Rodriguez's Amplify program, you're all like, that was something we all learned at a even deeper level. prior, but such a good call out, Scott. Huge mistake people make. And by the way, we still make it. All of us make it every day. Not to pick on you, Scott, but like when I first
10 times
called you and I say, hey, Scott, walk us through a local, hyper personal thing. You showed your screen immediately. You could have framed it for a minute or two before you showed your screen. We all make that framing mistake, and we can all be more effective salespeople if we frame it. So Michelle, your turn, and I'll let you guys close it out.
See you, bud.
So, I think one of the biggest mistakes that loan officers make is to be scared of the question. Like it's, for instance, Scott, how oftentimes we get the phone call, it's like, well, what is your rate? Well, that scares some loan officers, and all of a sudden they go into that, oh my gosh, they're talking about rates already, and we got to think about rates, when really the follow-up should be a question. Because we need to just be more curious and ask more questions rather than make assumptions. So why are they asking about the rate? Because I think we're going to hear that more and more and more. And so getting confidence in being able to answer that question with a follow-up question rather than trying to answer the question. And it's just natural. Someone asks a question and you think you have to answer the question. When you really need to have a better understanding of why they asked that question so that you can accurately answer that question, because it may not be about the rate. It really might be that they are scared to death. They can't afford the house and they think rate's going to solve that problem. So what is the fear? And you got to ask the questions to understand the fear. So what I love about the Modern Mortgage Summit and what we all experienced is that you see people just like us. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if they're doing 1,000 loans a month or they're doing 50 loans a month. We all are in it learning every single day. What makes someone doing 1,000 loans a month different from someone who's brand new and only doing 50 loans a month is team building.
Right.
And if you're good at what you do and you passionately there to serve your community and to educate your buyers, you're going to continue to grow your business. And as you grow your business, then it's a matter of just growing your team. And then as you grow your team, you got to continue to educate, teach your team, all of these things that we're talking about, because they're speaking to your customers on your behalf all day, every day. So, these summits just really, to me, every time, it just reminds me it's the basics. You guys were just in sales, and the product that we have to deliver is money that people are going to pay us back over time. And the service that we are giving them is just lending them our experience and our knowledge as professionals in the business, regardless of what level you're at. You're still a professional at the business. And it's just, these summits are just, number one, great to remind us that we are all in it to win it. We all do it a different way. It's all a matter of confidence with the clarity, and clarity comes from knowing what your value add is. How do you speak to others, and how do you demonstrate your value? Scott, your value is different than my value.
Right.
Because we're all different individuals. It doesn't make you better or me better. We're just different. And so just using all of that information, getting together, watching these modern day summits, making notes, knowing that you can go back, watch and rewatch, learn and practice, and then figure out, how do I really implement this into my business? Or do I want to implement this into my business right now? Or do I want to park it on a list to reevaluate at the end of Q1?
Yep.
I
think just to add to that, and like being the different, I think just kind of closing up and I'll use a golf analogy. Tiger Woods destroyed a lot of players, like average players' golf swings, because what we're talking about here is, if you listen to the Mortgage Modern Summit and you figured out, okay, these people are relatable to me, right? These are the people I'm more like. And then once you figure that out and figure out, okay, how can I take some of their, things that they're learning and take them for me, apply them to me in my market. And I'll go back to Tiger. So when Tiger came on the scene, his body was completely different from everybody else. But yet everyone goes, hey, that's my results I want, the 1,000 loans a month, right? Even though it's a different body and different skill set, I'm going to go ahead and try to swing like him. And it ruined a lot of games and it ruined a lot of backs. So the point is, copy someone who's got more of your flexibility and body type, take it to mortgages right now. Copy someone more of like, that's more of your mental, how you approach things, how you organize things, how you sell things. I'm not going to be like Shayla Gifford's. We're a little different. I like a few things from her, but figure out who you want to be in there, watch them intently, grab some of the things you are and take it into your business.
Absolutely. And every time I watch these summits, my concern is always that we,
You see that comment?
yeah. My concern is always that you get overwhelmed and you watch all of these superstars and you go, oh my gosh, I got to change everything that I'm doing. You don't listen. Yeah. You guys just pick up 1 or 2 nuggets, something you can tweak or change in your business that helps you grow to the next level. Because at the end of the day, it's a compound effect. If you can just improve your business by 1% every single week, creating more consistency, creating more clarity, being more true to who you are and the value that you have to offer. At the end of the day, I'm not going to be a Scott. I'm not going to be a Shayla. I'm not going to be a Robin. I'm not going to be a Jeremy. I'm going to be Michelle Castle, but I can take bits and pieces from people that I see that are doing something really well and implement it into the process. So just don't get overwhelmed. Don't give yourself any kind of, just don't beat yourself up. Right. Just work on that 1%.
For sure. For sure. Awesome. Well, I appreciate
this has been so much fun. Thank you, Scott, so much for sharing your morning. And I want to connect with you a little bit more and have some off-call conversation later. So we'll circle back around.
Sounds good. Thanks all. Bye. Thank you, Michelle.
Y'all have a great day.
You too. Bye.